So this morning I would like to point out to you and provide proof that the situation in the Middle East with Israel and Iran is far more dire than what people realize. Like I said, I'm going to provide you with proof, and things are not going to get better, folks, until Israel is fully restored. Let's get started. First, I want to show you a statement by Iran. Let me move this over. I could not, I might find a link for you, but the statement is so long, it's nearly impossible to find it once you're in the website. So I'm just going to read it off to you. Senior Iranian military and political officials praised the alleged success of the April 13th Iranian attack against Israel and simultaneously warns the United States that Iran would target U.S. bases in the region if the U.S. supported an Israeli response. Iran Armed Forces General Staff Chief Major General Mohammad Bagheri warned that if the United States supported any Israeli response to its attacks, Iran would target U.S. bases in the region. Bagheri further specified that Iran intended to target the IDF Air Force Nevatim Air Base in the Negev Desert and the IDF Intelligence Center of Mount Hermon during the attacks against Israel. Iranian missiles caused limited damage to the Nevatim Air Base, and the base remains operational. There are no reports of any damage in the intelligence center in northern Israel. The IRGC issued a warning to the United States that if it do not get involved in a response to the Iranian operation. Artesh Commander Major General Abdul Rahim Mousavi stated that if the United States uses any of its regional bases to support Israel, then Iran will consider U.S. bases legitimate targets and retaliate accordingly. Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi stated that if Israel responded to the Iranian operation, Iran would retaliate with greater severity than its April 13th attack. Raisi emphasized that Israel's supporters, presumably meaning the United States, should appreciate the responsible and appropriate nature of Iranian April 13th operation. A senior Iranian military official asserted on April 14th, listen carefully, that Iran has adopted a new policy to target Israel directly from Iranian territory due to the success of the Iranian attack on Israel. Success? What do you mean? Let me try to explain it for you. It took the United States, Jordan, France, and the UK, and Israel, all of them collectively, to block the drones and block the missiles that Iran fired toward Israel, and yet still ballistic missiles entered Israel. Why is that successful? We're going to get into that, why it's successful, but the short answer is, and I'll tell you right now, it's because Iran already has nuclear missiles. They already do. They know it. Russia knows it. All right? So, what the Iranians are claiming is any attacks from Iran are going to be direct now instead of using proxies. Well, of course they're going to still use proxies. All right, but let's continue. Now, I wanted to show you, this is on the San Diego Union Tribune, a picture of where all of Iran's nuclear facilities are and their mining operations. You have the Tehran Research Reactor, you have the Parchin Military Complex, you have the Fordow Uranium Enrichment Plant, you have the Arak Heavy Water Reactor Plant, you have the Natanz Uranium Enrichment Plant, you have the Sargand Uranium Mine. So no sanctions are going to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. You see, they have the facilities and they have the mines. Then you have the Bushehr nuclear power plant and another, the Gachin uranium mine and mill. You have Eshafan uranium conversion factory. They have it all. Now, the whole world, the whole Western world, in the Iranian, U.S., and 5 of the world powers nuclear deal. They had a deal, and it was up to these powers to make sure that Iran followed through on the deal. They did not. Iran never did follow through on the deal. And because they made the deal, and because they made a promise to Israel that the deal was solid, now these world powers are morally responsible for any nuclear weapons that fall on Israel. What did I just say? No, Henry, no nuclear weapons are going to fall on Israel. Nowhere in the scripture does it say that. In fact, there is a possibility that they might. Read right here. After 2 years of negotiations, representatives of Iran, the U.S., and 5 other world powers have reached a deal to curb Iran's nuclear program for 10 to 15 years. Now, when was this? 2015. 10 to 15 years. We're almost 10 years out. Here we are, 9 years later. You see? Now, I want to show you a video. We'll start at 5 minutes in. And I need to, I guess I'll, hopefully won't be too loud. Echoed the last time. So we're going to play this 5 minutes in.
Well, we have not been able to get any confirmation or name as to who that commander is, but he was also killed within the southern area of Lebanon just not too long ago. We are also hearing that from inside of Iran, the situation is going to be a lot more difficult in response to the Iranians, because it appears the Russians are now sticking their hand into the situation and making things far more difficult. According to what we've been able to find online, we've heard from Joe Command Intel that Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu announced in a letter to the U.S. Department of Defense that if Israel launches a possible retaliatory strike against Iran, Russia will respond in the Iranian counterattack. This is once again largely removing the isolation of this conflict in between Iran and Israel.
Did you hear that? Let's go back and play it again.
Launches a possible retaliatory strike against Iran, Russia will respond in the Iranian counterattack.
You heard that, right? Gog Magog war, anybody? Oh, this video is good all the way to the very end.
This is once again largely removing the isolation of this conflict in between Iran and Israel directly, and it's now creating a very global front, an anti-Russian front, against the Russian Federation, as now the Iranians are a smaller party in a larger conflict that has already been ongoing. This is somewhat connecting the conflicts all together. Many people have been trying to look at the Israeli-Iranian conflict in a different lens than they do the Ukraine war conflict, although both of them are heavily tied together in their anti-Western tones. With Israel and Ukraine being Western-leaning or Western-aligned countries, the wars that are being waged against them are not ones for ideological differences like the countries beginning these conflicts would like one to believe. It is more so the fact that it is an anti-Western coalition seeking to destabilize and destroy Western countries wherever the opportunity can arise. The Israelis, of course, being a Western-aligned country and an ally of the United States within the region, are a target of the Iranians not just for their ideological differences, but also because Iran is an anti-Western country. The Russians also being an anti-Western country as well, and having fought a war in Ukraine for over 2 years now, is seeking to try and find a way to distract from the conflict in the region, and also attempt to destabilize and destroy any other countries that are Western-aligned as well, including Israel.
I hope you're listening, folks.
For this reason, we now see that the Defense Minister Shoigu, representing the Russian Federation, is now making it very clear that this is not an isolated conflict that has to do with ideological matters inside the Middle East. This is purely an anti-Western affair, and the Russians are more than happy to help in the attempted destruction of any Western-aligned countries that they have within their reach around the world. At the exact same time, we are also able to hear that the United States is incredibly certain that if the Israelis conduct any kind of attack on the Iranians will most likely respond with a new round of missile and drone attacks, according to a senior U.S. official. This largely means that the Israelis do not have much to fear if there is going to be an Iranian counter-response, as their initial response of the large amount of drones and missiles that were fired into Israeli territory was easily destroyed and averted by a large air defense presence within the region surrounding Israel. We also understand that the Russian Federation most likely would not have a lot of an ability to fling much of the Israelis if they wanted to get involved in the counter-response. We have seen that so far the war in Ukraine has greatly reduced the amount of available missiles and drones that the Russian Federation has itself, and in reality, the Russian missile and drone abilities in forms of strike against Israel are about on par with the Iranians, although the Russians will most likely have a much higher efficiency rate, at least as far as the missiles actually almost making it to their targets and not crashing from their launch sites. That means that the Israelis would most likely have to contend with maybe an additional couple of dozen air targets if the Russians got involved and started launching drones and missiles into the territory of Israel from the direction of Syria, but at the same time it most likely would not be all too concerning. Also considering that the Israelis do have active Arrow 2 anti-ballistic missile systems within the area, as well as Patriots, that kind of an air defense perimeter would pose a serious issue to Russian air forces that would be attempting to launch missiles into the region of Israel, either to the aircraft themselves that would be launching the missiles, or either to the missiles and drones which would be attempting to fly in. Most, if not all of them, would once again be shot down, showing that the Russian involvement in the region would not be too much to be concerned about on a conventional level. However, it's not the conventional level that is incredibly concerning. The part that is concerning is that the Israelis and the Russians are both nuclear weaponized powers.
Yes. See that? Both Israel and Russia are nuclear powers.
With a large amount of nuclear weapons at their disposal. This would be one of the first times in modern history, outside of any conflicts in between India and Pakistan, where two nuclear powers have gone to blows with each other directly and are going into the realm of conventional war. Of course, the Russians would be greatly limited in their abilities against Israel as well, being completely geographically separated from the state of Israel. The Russians would not be able to conduct any kind of ground invasions or any kind of ground operations, and also a large amount of their combat power is already tied up within.
Well, they would, but only through the Golan Heights.
For an ongoing Ukraine war conflict. We also got to hear at the exact same time that apparently Iranian nuclear facilities are operating as normal. According to the IAEA director, Rafael Grossi, the security considerations to shut down the plants on Sunday, but now, according to what he is seeing and what the reports are coming in from the ground, the situation seems to be business as usual, as we're of course getting reports that the Iranians are possibly weeks, if not days away, from producing their first nuclear weapon and possibly moving it into its testing phase. This is a very concerning situation once again, as the Iranians are pretty much on the cusp of being able to create some kind of a nuclear weapon that could start to seriously destabilize the region and lead the Iranians into being a far more dangerous nation to deal with in the future. But with that is all of the major breaking news that we have at the moment within this region.
Okay. So now that we're done with this video, this enlightening video, I think it is time to look at some of my previous videos that have been going back for the last 2, possibly 3 years. Listen right here. You just read, you just heard. It being said that if Israel strikes Iran back, that Russia is going to get involved directly. Now, in this particular video, back in October 17th of 2023, Russia caught red-handed instructing Hamas to attack Israel. So Russia is behind this whole thing. All right? I strongly recommend that you watch this video. Now, I have it both on YouTube and on BitChute. It's just a little easier for me to pull up on BitChute. Okay, the next one. Putin threatens to destroy Israel. October the 10th. This was just before the attack by Hamas. Number 3 was in January 31, 2023. Russia just labeled Israel as terrorists. Oh, 31. Where is it? Right here. Russia just labeled Israel as terrorists. Invasion of Gog, Magog, war next. All right. Another video. This is September the 14th, 2022. Russian former president predicts Revelation 9 verse 18. Yes, he did. I have it all on the video. You can watch it. Destruction of the world. And that is the nuclear launch by the one who holds the ribbon of St. George. I will go to that one. That is the next video. That is April 10, 2022. Just in case any of you all have just been slipping and sleeping. video right here, the ribbon of St. George identifies Gog and the perpetrator of the sixth trumpet plague. That's written in Revelation 9, verses 17 and 18. And then in March the 6th, 2022, I did a video. The title is Prepare to Depart to Israel. That is, to all Jews in the United States and worldwide, and all of you who love Israel, who cleave to Israel like Rahab and like Ruth. This is March 6th. This one. Soon to come will be the largest, quickest migration ever recorded in history. And as I pointed out to my cousin, it'll be much like the animals coming into the ark. That quick. I don't know about that quick, but quick like that is what I'm trying to say. And the last one, Russian Yars ICBM accurately described in the three woes, February 28, 2022. Where is it? There it is right here. Actually, that's not February 28th. It's March the 2nd. Russian Yars ICBM launchers accurately described in the three woes. With a question mark, of course. Folks, what I'm trying to tell you is when this thing begins to happen, you should see it coming a mile away. And you should know what to do next. Now, some of you think you don't have to do anything. Well, that's where you're wrong. Now, speaking of Gog, let me remind you concerning the ribbon of St. George, which Russia claims, which Russia places on all its military equipment and all of its soldiers. The word Gog, the name Gog in the Gog and Magog war. So when you see and when you read Ezekiel 38 and 39, the name root, ergon, Gorgos or Georgios or Georgios. The name derives from ancient Greek Georgios, from the element Georgios, tilling the ground, fertilizer, and fertilizing. Now, who are the greatest producers of fertilizer in the world? Anybody got an idea? Do your due diligence, do your homework. I'll continue. In which turn it derives from land, earth, country, soil. Okay. So here, in turn, the name means land worker, farmer in the West. The name is known from the 11th century as a result of the Crusades. The name is known, not was created as a result of the Crusades, but was known as a result of the Crusades. The name's use was extended due to the popularity of St. George and the golden legend widespread in the European courts in the 13th century. In Germany, the name has been popular since the Middle Ages, declining in later use. In Britain, despite there being a St. George, the patron of England, since the 14th century, the name did not become popular until the 18th century following George I of England's accession, etc. So Gog and George is the same name, and this video that I pointed out to you, this is the ribbon of St. George. Those are the colors in, and I will go ahead and go to Bible Hub. We will go to Revelation 9. All right. And the sixth messenger sounded, and I heard, sounded a shofar, by the way, a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before Elohim, saying,
Australia.
will you people, I gotta start over again. I don't know why this stuff keeps coming up. I try to delete it and it just, so where was I? Well, I guess I just have to start over. I was going to go to history. The sixth messenger sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before Elohim, saying to the sixth messenger, which had the trumpet, which had the shofar, not trumpet, loose the four messengers which are tied up, bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four messengers were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were myriad, or two myriads, or two myriad, two 10,000, 10,000. And I heard a number of them, and I heard the horses, I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire, or fiery breastplates, which means they were the color of fire. Okay? Of jacinth and of brimstone. Please watch the video. Ribbon of St. George identifies Gog and the perpetrator of the sixth trumpet plague, or sixth shofar plague. And you can find it on April 10, 2022. Okay? It is necessary that you watch it, because in that video, with the help of one of my listeners, I found the answer. And the heads of the horses were as heads of lions. Well, heads of horses are narrow, and the heads of lions are wide. And out of the mouth issued fire, smoke, and brimstone, and by these three was a third of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone. And when you continue to read, it clearly describes a Yars mobile ICBM. Okay? So let's then look at the Gog-Magog war. We see Russia's intentions. We got proof. I've showed you proof of Russia's intentions and of Israel's intentions. Israel is not going to allow Iran to strike Israel, and you can make up all kinds of excuses concerning the reason why, or the fact that Israel struck a target next to the consulate, the Iranian consulate in Syria, to kill a general who was responsible for orchestrating attacks on Israel on October 17th or 14th, whatever day that was, of last year. An Iranian general. When that situation in October happened, Israel should have declared war on Iran. Because at that particular point in time, Iran had declared war on Israel. And so did Russia. I provided proof that Russia and Iran were behind the attacks on Israel by Hamas and by Lebanon. I provided all that proof. So if we go to Ezekiel 38, I'm not going to read the whole thing today. I've done that so many times. But Son of man, set your face against George. Or the one who holds the ribbon of St. George, as we read in Revelation 9, verses 17 and 18. Of the land of Magog. Okay, and Rosh. Rosh. Remember, the last beast, aka the false prophet, has 2 horns on its head. One is in Rome today. The other one was in Constantinople and now is in Rome. Now is in Moscow. Prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and says, Adonai Yehovah, behold, I am against you. I will cause you to return. Why? Because the Byzantines invaded Israel too. Invaded Jerusalem as well, is what I mean. Back in the old days. They still got their old buildings up there in Israel, in Jerusalem. And put hooks in your jaws, and I will bring you forth all of your army. Sus, that is birds or war birds. And all of them clothed with armor, with a great company, with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, or that word can also be used as, can also mean sidearms, side weapons. And who is the first among this crowd? Persia. Persia, Iran. And it says Cush, put with shield and helmet, Gomer, and all of his bands, the house of Togarmah, and of the north quarters, and all of his bands with him, and not all, it does not say, and his bands, his army with him. So it's going to be a coalition headed by the main ally of Iran in the last days. I wonder who that could be. And he has the ribbon of St. George, and they call him Rosh. Does anybody know? Does anybody understand? Can anybody do a calculation? Do some critical thinking here? All right. And where are they going to enter into? Scroll down. They will go to the land of unwalled hamlets, an open region hamlet. Well, Jerusalem is not an open region or hamlet. Those places I've showed you in videos. That northern Israel, the Golan Heights, is the land of unwalled hamlets. You can Google it and you can find it for yourself. Because it is the desire, the will of Russia to force Israel back to its so-called 67 borders. You see, Russia wants access to the Golan Heights because under the Golan Heights is so much oil. I have done videos on that. So that's what he's talking about. And Jehovah says here in verse 17, this is the time that I have spoken. This is that moment that he spoke of to his servants the prophets for many, many years. What time? Haggai 2 verses 18 through 22, Zechariah 14, Zechariah 9, Isaiah 66 and Isaiah 60, Jeremiah 31, all of that chapter. Now, so when they do this, for in my jealousy and my fire and my wrath have I spoken, surely in that day there will be a great quaking in the land of Israel when they come to invade. Oh, they're going to see the face of Jehovah. This right here is literally what the sixth seal is describing. Seriously. When the carriers of the ribbon of St. George will come against the land of Israel, says Adonai Jehovah, that my fury shall come up in my face, for in my jealousy and the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel, so that the fishes of the sea, and the fowls of heaven, and the beasts of the field, and all the creeping things that creep upon the earth, and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. That's when he is going to appear, and he will appear with the Lamb as well. Once again, sixth seal, read it. And the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And I will call for a sword against them throughout all of my mountains. What this means is the call to launch every available weapon that Israel has, and also the army of messengers that Jehovah has in heaven will come down. That means Israel is going to be forced to launch nuclear weapons. And at that time, says Adonai Jehovah, every man's sword will be against his brother. He will judge them with pestilence, with blood, and rain upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him, and overflowing rain, great hailstones, fire, and brimstone. This I will magnify and sanctify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of the Gentiles, the Goi, and they shall know what? The Lord God, Deus? No, they're going to know Jehovah. Now, we'll get a little bit more description right here in Ezekiel 39, where it says in verse 3, I will smite your bow. This is the Gog situation. Out of your left hand will cause your arrows to fall out of your right hand, and you shall fall upon the mountains of Israel, you and your army and the people that are with you. I will give you to the ravenous birds of every sort, to the beasts of the field to be devoured, and you shall fall upon the open field. For I have spoken, it says, Adonai Jehovah, and I will send fire on Magog and those that dwell carelessly in the coastlands, and they shall know Jehovah. So every man is going to hand against his brother. All weapons that Israel has available to them will be launched. And as a result, folks, perimeter will be perimeter. I said it. Perimeter, look it up. Russia's perimeter will also be launched against the West, which is why there will be a fire on Magog. But there's going, and those that dwell carelessly in the coastlands, that would be Rome, that would be Europe. Furthermore, the two witnesses will arise to gather up all Israel out of those lands, and the first thing that they're going to do is apply a plague of no rain. And when there's no rain, everything in the forests and in the fields become tender. So I am telling you right now, get yourself ready. Open your eyes, get out of your slumber, and prepare. I have shown you today that things are much more dire for this world than what this world believes. I have given you proof.